Hi, and welcome to Fan Talk. I'm Simon.
I'm David.
And today we're going to be taking a look at 1917, the movie about, the year.
The year.
Yeah, not just the year itself.
1917.
Which I think there was a little skirmish going on that year called World War One. But let's go ahead and just jump into it and we'll cover it from there. It's not a position I really want to be in. Trench warfare.
Oh, God. It's a different kind of war right there.
Clock ticking is reminding me of Dunkirk.
You have a brother in the 2nd Battalion.
Yes, sir.
Come on first.
Is he alive?
And with your help, I'd like to keep it that way. But they're walking into a trap. Your orders are to deliver a message calling off tomorrow morning's attack. If you don't, we will lose 1,600 men. Your brother among them.
This reminds me a lot of Dunkirk as far as the filming style.
There is only one way this war ends. Last man standing.
What the hell are you doing, Lance Corporal? No! No! No!
If you fail,
War into wars.
it will be a massacre.
Oh, one more kill and all.
Good luck.
December.
It looks good.
This might be rough.
I mean, I haven't seen a lot of movies on World War One. I feel like World War Two gets a lot of the publicity.
That's where the living memory, at least up until recently, was.
Yeah.
And also, there's, I think, a number of issues with that. One, it was a clearly defined good and bad
Yes.
on the sides. Meanwhile, World War One wasn't. It was
Wasn't.
and so it's easy to have like movies, especially about World War Two, because Nazis are bad.
Yeah.
And even about the Japanese, they the attacks and what they did with some of the other populations could also be framed easily into a very black and white
Yeah.
category. Meanwhile, World War One, you don't have that as easily. Both sides used poison gas. Both sides did things, and there wasn't a clear start of like who was responsible.
And it was an incredibly gruesome war.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, I've been in war situations, and it's just a totally different beast, even from, like, the Iraq and Afghanistan conflict versus, say, Vietnam. A lot different situation, but then you take those more recent wars, even up to World War II, and you look at the World War One. I mean, you're talking about the development of the machine gun at that time, massive amounts of bullets, and we were still fighting in trenches. So, like, literally thousands of people just running across the field praying that they didn't get gunned down.
And then when that didn't work, the commanders would be like, "Oh, just try that again."
Yeah.
I mean, basically, the problem was it was using 20th century, early 20th
Battle
century
tactics.
Technology with 19th century tactics.
Yeah. It was for instance, it was like the British Army came into the United States to fight Americans, and we had taken so many of the Indians' warfare tactics, and they were still lining up in lines and marching forward, and we were like gunning them down from the trees, and it was just.
It definitely made a big. It made a difference.
It made a huge impact because it was just a different kind of war for them, and so World War One was just it was an incredibly gruesome and violent war.
It was one of the most brutal wars.
Yeah, and so
more people obviously died in World War II, and I'm not taking anything away from any of that on this discussion. But as far as just the brutality of just the individual battles,
yes,
and day-to-day losses, World War One was just
incredibly devastating.
Yeah,
and I think that to put that into a film, up until this point is going to be a little more difficult. You could have like smaller storylines with something on a large scale like this. I think you kind of almost needed the modern technology to do a really good film like this, and so I'm excited to see it. I think it'll be really good.
And it felt like he really did take a page from Nolan's Dunkirk as far as like some of the tone or style of this. It really did feel a lot like that, and quite a number of scenes I saw on there. Also going after another group, battalion, whatever, to deliver a message, and also I guess save your brother has some kind of elements of maybe Saving Private Ryan in that. Kind of like not doing the actual usual battlefront advancing storyline. It's somebody kind of going
across
parallel.
Across the battlefront, trying to prevent something bad from happening.
Yeah. In 1917, obviously this looks like a very British cast, so probably the British Army. But at 1917, the Americans were trying to arrive in force at that point. So it'd be interesting to see who else, if they get anybody else involved in the cast. Because also interesting to see how they do the Germans in this. Because once again, these aren't Nazi Germans where they're automatically bad. And I wouldn't want necessarily for them to be the protagonist just because. I'm just curious how they're going to do it.
Yeah. There's a lot of history that goes into all of this. You and me are both big history buffs, so when it goes to war movies, there's a lot of stuff that I know about and I've read about that kind of plays into the whole understanding of how we reach those points. And so like you said, in World War I, you always want to say we were the good guys. Whoever wins, and
patriotism aside,
it's how it got started, why it happened. There wasn't this clear cut evil villain as you had in World War II. So it's we'll see how the film goes. It looks like it's going to be pretty action packed. It looks like it's going to be very suspenseful. I mean, just those scenes where they're in the tunnel, you're just like, you find yourself like claustrophobic. You start breathing heavy because, I mean, to me, just the idea of fighting in those closed, combat situations like that, it's terrifying. It's, I think that suspense just in that trailer alone was enough to make me be like, "Whoo, this is going to be a good film." So
okay. Well, if we see any more trailers when this movie come out, we'll be sure to check them out for you guys. Until then, please like and subscribe.